Hey friends, Sleepy here. Welcome to another episode of my weekly playlist series. We've made it to another Friday now, and that means it's time for me to share with you guys the games I've been playing during the week. Give you guys my thoughts and opinions on these games, whether I think you guys should check them out or not. I'd like to hear about the games you guys are playing though, as that always gives me ideas of new games to check out, and I really appreciate everybody who has been sharing the games with me each week here, as you guys have piqued my interest in quite a few titles, and I actually have a nice growing list of games to check out or play, and some of them I've actually played after hearing about you guys playing them. I also appreciate any suggestions on games you think I should check out, as I have a nice growing list of games from your guys' suggestions of games I should play. So I appreciate those suggestions. Keep them coming. Got two games to share with you guys this week. I'm actually on vacation from work. I'm taking my last vacation of the year. Started on Wednesday, and I don't have to actually go back to work until next Friday. So I have a total of 9 days off, which has been nice just to relax here. Did a little bit of gaming this week. Got to do some cleaning and stuff, and then I plan as we get more into next week to play even more games on my time off just to relax and stuff. So got two games here. First one I want to share with you guys is for PlayStation 2, and it's one that I'm continuing my work on, as I shared this a few months ago, and that was playing Grand Theft Auto Liberty City Stories. I have the double pack that also has Vice City Stories. With the release of the Grand Theft Auto Trilogy Definitive Editions for the PS4, PS5, Xbox Series X, PC, and Switch, it's really piqued my interest in wanting to continue playing the Grand Theft Auto games. Now, I do plan to get those Definitive Edition games, but I want to get the physical copy of it, and that doesn't come out until December next year. Next month. And so, because of that, I decided I'd play some of the older Grand Theft Auto games until that comes out, as just seeing all the videos about it and people that have been excited about it have piqued my interest in wanting to play some of the Grand Theft Auto games, and so I decided to go back and beat both Liberty City Stories and Vice City Stories. Now, if you guys have never played these before, these are great companion pieces to Grand Theft Auto 3 and Grand Theft Auto Vice City, as these were used to be exclusive to the PSP, but Sony saw how well they were doing on the PSP and wanted to port them to the PS2 so that they could get them into more hands of Sony owners, because not everybody had a PSP, and they saw an opportunity to make more money and to get the games into more gamers' hands. So they ported them to the PS2, which was an awesome thing to do. And I really do love these games, as they're really good, just as good as the original trilogy, but they add stuff to it. So the one I'm playing as is, God, what the hell's his name now? Damn it, Tony. So he's from part of the Salvatore family. So the game actually takes place right before the events in Grand Theft Auto 3, and you get to go through Liberty City again and have a whole new story and stuff, and all kinds of new missions and collectibles to find. And they're really good games. Now, they're not super long games, as they were PSP games, but they're definitely worth checking out. Beat them a long time ago on PSP, but I actually never did finish them on PS2, so I had restarted my game this year with a new save file, and it's one that I'm really enjoying. If you guys are big fans of the Grand Theft Auto games, and you like the old classic ones, because they're not easy, they can definitely be difficult. Highly recommend getting the PS2 ports, or if you have a PSP, get them on PSP, as they're cheaper on the PSP. Now, these PS2 ports have gone up in the last 2 years, since the pandemic hit. Prices have skyrocketed, especially this collector's double pack version of it. It's gotten really, really expensive. I got it for a great deal here locally, but it's crazy how much like even the individual games are going for now here. Like this locally now is like $150, and each of the games are like 30 and 40 and $50 depending on the store's location. I know online they can go for a bit, but they're worth checking out if you guys are fans of the classic Grand Theft Autos. They have the classic graphics style. They're a little bit downgraded from the Grand Theft Auto 3 visuals, like I said, because these were PSP games, but they still do look pretty good, and they have that same classic control and feel, and you just get more of more of the same and more of a good thing. So if you liked, the Grand Theft Auto 3 and Vice City, pick up Liberty City Stories and Vice City Stories, as they are, are companion pieces, because they take place before those games, and you also get introduced to new characters, but you also get to see the background of characters that you meet in the main games and get some backstory on them and their character and some character development and stuff. Definitely think you guys should check it out, and I'm looking forward to trying to beat Liberty City Stories this month, as it's fun. And I actually did this year buy the strategy guides for both these, which I did not know actually existed until I ran into one of them at my local game store and saw it there. And I'm like, sweet, I never had these. And the strategy guides come in handy with Grand Theft Auto games if you want to get all the secrets, all the collectibles, and just to and be able to beat every mission and get everything. They come in handy. So having that has been a big help for me as trying to find the hidden packages and hidden stuff in the game and get strategies for tough missions and stuff. Those guides have definitely come in handy. So highly recommend you guys check out the Liberty City Stories and Vice City Stories on PS2 or get the PSP original games, as they are very fun things. And like I said, since Grand Theft Auto Definitive Edition has come out, it's just really got me interested in playing Grand Theft Auto games again. And so that's why I decided to go back and play this one. Now we'll move on to the other game. This is one I've been working on for like a month now, and I'm really far into it, over 20 hours now, and that is Xiaowan Sword 7. This is an awesome action RPG set in ancient China time, right during the end of, like, I think, the Han Dynasty, somewhere around there. And it's just a really fun game. Really reminds me of games like The Witcher and other action RPGs similar to that, because a lot of people kind of call this like the Asian Witcher, which I definitely agree with. Just a really fun game that I've been thoroughly enjoying. The music is just absolutely phenomenal, classic like Chinese instrumental music, and these really cool action battle sequences. And then when there's like a sad moment, there's like more mellow music that like really sets the mood for you as you play through the game. And it actually will change depending on where in the game you're at, which is something I really like. You got the battle music, really gets you pumped up for battles and stuff, especially when you go against some of the bosses in the game, which are awesome. And that's another thing too, that this kind of has aspects of like Dark Souls when it comes to boss battles, as some of them are pretty big. They have their health bar above them, and you have to use some of the tactics you use in Dark Souls, where you can't just run and hack and slash dudes, because if they hit they can kill you really quickly, especially as you get further into some of the harder bosses. You have to learn how to dodge and counter, take a few hits and jump around, get behind them, dodge their different attacks, because some of the bosses, as you play, they start changing their attack patterns and start having stronger attacks, which, reminds me of the Dark Souls type of games and your Bloodborne and stuff, where the enemies transform and have new attacks and stuff. So I like that in this game. You have the main story that you go through, where you play as a character called Taishi Zhao, and his family's betrayed, and you and your sister end up escaping, and then you have to go through China and trying to save the world. So I'll read you guys the back real quick. So journey across ancient China as a cinematic adventure unfolds. Take the role of the calm and reliable swordsman Taishi Zhao as he fights to protect his family and uncover the truth of the blight that threatens all of China. And this is a story deeply rooted in ancient Chinese history and mythology. Xiaowan Sword 7 reimagines both as one fantastical and chaotic realm under the governance of a new Jin dynasty. So it's just really cool having that ancient Chinese mythology in there with the demons and stuff and dragons, and just all that cool mythology stuff, which I really enjoy, old ancient Chinese culture and stuff. And it has all of that in this game. It has elements of magic and mystery and stuff, and like fable type of storytelling, which is something I really like about it, because it does have a really good story that has kept me hooked. And I'm over 20 hours into this game. I have gone through and beat every side quest that I can find, which there's a bunch of side quests that I have discovered as you play through the game. Now the map is set up into different like sections and stuff. It's not really open world where there's kind of your linear paths you have to go through, but as you play through the story, you unlock more of the world to explore, and you can always go back. And one thing I would recommend for you guys is, when you're going through passes, make sure you look around the sides for hidden passages or ways you can go off of the main beaten path, because you can actually find secrets like chests and stuff to find collectibles, because this game has a lot of loot to find in it, which are crafting materials, because it's very important that you stock up on these crafting materials, as that's how you improve your character, how you can create potions and stuff you need, how you can forge new armor and stuff, because you can upgrade your character's swords, weapons in this game, but you cannot upgrade their armor, so you have to actually craft new armor for them. You can, enhance their weapons, which is one drawback I know that some people might not enjoy, is that the characters are locked to their one kind of weapon and can't change anything. So I know a lot of people were upset, like Taishi Zhao, he only uses his sword. And then you have your sister that helps you out, and she has like a magic projectile ability that she does. And then you have Hong, his friend, the other companion with you, that has twin swords, and you can only upgrade their weapons, you can't get new ones, which I thought would have been a good idea had they incorporated some new weapons into it. But I can understand why they just decided to focus on just the single weapons for them, as this was created by a small team from Taiwan, but they did a really fantastic job with this game, especially hearing about how it was such a small team. And this is actually the first time they brought this series to the West, as this series has actually been out since the 90s. And of course, when it first started out, was those original top-down isometric little RPGs like Final Fantasy and stuff. If you guys have played those old ones like on the NES, because I'm pretty sure that the first game was on like Famicom and old PCs and stuff. So it's really cool that they brought it to the West. And the only reason I heard about this is it was just a random suggestion from GameFly, where I rent games from, was on, and I was checking. I'm like, man, this looks kind of fun. An action RPG. I love those kind of games. I'll give it a try. And so after watching all the videos, I decided I wanted to go out and buy a physical copy. Now, this launched at $50 digitally and physically, but I was able to get my copy on eBay for $40, brand new, shipped. Sadly, since that time, this month, the dude actually sold out of all of them, because he lowered it by $5 to $35, and all the copies he had, like 30 plus, all sold out fast. So if this is one you want to get, I would recommend physically, like, try to get it sooner rather than later, but try to keep an eye out for a deal for it, because what I say it's worth 50 to me, it would be, but maybe not to you. You might want to wait till it's like $40 or less. Of course, if you want to get it digitally, it's going to always be available digitally. You can just wait for a sale. But it's a game I think you guys should definitely pick up and play at some point, as I'm just having a blast with it. I love the voice actors, because it's in authentic Chinese language with English subtitles. There's no English dub, which for these kind of games, I just prefer them to have their native languages. It just immerses you more into the game world and stuff, and I've just been having a blast with it. The combat is really good. You can lock onto enemies, so you can strafe around them. You can actually block and counter, and if you actually counter at the correct time, your enemy will be knocked back and stunned, and then you can do a big attack on them, because some enemies are really tough as you get further along in the game, because they start getting tougher versions of them. You fight different monsters, but you also fight humans, and some have shields and swords, and some have magic abilities you have to watch out for, and you got archers, and sometimes you have a mixture of a huge group of enemies to fight, and it can just get absolutely chaotic. But the good thing is, though, you actually have two NPC companions the computer actually controls, that help you fight and stuff, and you can actually get them to do different abilities, and they have some little things you can unlock as you play through the game and story. So it's just something that's really satisfying in some of those tense combat moments, is having two computer AI components that can help you. Now they can get knocked out, so they go into like a down but not out thing, similar to like in like a Gears of War, where the character goes down, and then they have a timer that plays, that goes through, and once the timer is back to zero, then they'll revive themselves. And so sometimes, you might be in a tough battle, or you have to just keep dodging and fighting until your companions get revived, so they can keep helping you out. This game has a really cool battling system, as far as when it comes to the combat. As like, they have different stances you learn, like there's a ox stance, there's like a bear stance. So there's these different stances you can learn that actually do super attacks. With, like, on the Xbox that I'm playing on, you hit the right trigger and it does a certain attack thing. Well, what I found is, if you actually keep using that attack, it actually levels up, and some of them have 4 or 5 levels, and when you get that thing maxed out, you can then press the X button, and you'll unleash a super attack ability, which can be really helpful in tough battles against bosses and stuff. And then it has a cooldown meter, and that will start refilling, and once it does, you can use it again. So you can't just spam it or anything as far as that super move, but you can use that heavy attack mode, which are different ones, different kind of attacks. Sometimes, like, you can shoot like this like flaming like rock attack, like breaks up towards the enemy, and others are like a different kind of sword attack and stuff. So it was just really cool discovering how much extra things they were in it besides just hacking and slashing your enemies. So that's something I really enjoyed the game that I discovered, and I've actually been working on leveling up all of the attacks that I have unlocked so far. And one thing you can do in this game that reminds me of like a Dark Souls is that if you leave an area, when you go back, actually all the enemies will respawn. And so I've done a little bit of grinding to go through it. I'm like level 45 now, and I've gotten pretty far into the story, and I've gotten to a boss who was really freaking difficult. And it's one of those, like, you're fighting the boss, you're doing so damn well, you got his health down to like a quarter, and then you accidentally mess up and he freaking kills you with like a couple of hits, and all that work is lost. And he's defeated me twice, so I might need to go do a little bit more grinding and stuff. But I like that challenge to the game, that it gets progressively more difficult as you play through the story, and you're unlocking more missions and stuff. And the story's just had me compelled, and man, I haven't been this hooked on a game in a while for like an action RPG, just keeping me wanting to come back, like, okay, what's going to happen next? And I just really love the storytelling. The characters are interesting in the game too. There's a really cool one you meet, which I don't want to ruin who it is, but there's just some really cool characters. You got this side mini game that I really like, which is called Zhou Chess, which is not really like a chess game. It's kind of like a take on tic-tac-toe, where you have to make lines of three, but then you have special pieces that do certain things, and you gotta counter the computer, because as you play through the game, there's different enemies that you battle in this game, and they get progressively tougher and have newer pieces, but then you unlock newer pieces, and so you got to come up with strategies to beat him. You got to think, well, if I put a piece here, he could counter with this, I got to counter him with that. So there's a lot of thinking to it, and I have beat all of those enemies, and I really felt satisfied with it. This game also has a lot of puzzles to solve, which is cool. Now, you can actually turn them off at the very beginning of the game. It'll ask if you want to solve puzzles or just ignore puzzles, so you can just breeze through the game. I would recommend keeping the puzzles on, as it's very satisfying to solve some of the puzzles. They're not all difficult. Some are pretty easy, but some are pretty, you got to really think about it, because it doesn't always give you very good visuals of what to do until you figure out some of the stuff, which I did, and I felt very satisfied doing that. So I am absolutely loving this game, praising it. This is definitely one of these 9 out of 10 games for me. I am just in love with it, and it's awesome. I heard there's a new Game Plus mode that you can do. They've been added stuff. They added actually 2 new bosses to this game. They added where you can play that Zhou Chess anytime you want outside of the main game. And then they also added this new arena combat game where you can go through different levels of fighting different monsters and stuff to test yourself. So just really cool that they've been adding post-launch content to it, and they've talked about they might keep adding DLC to it for free. So that's awesome to hear. Highly recommend you guys check out Xiaowan Sword 7. It's such a fantastic game, and I'm so glad that I actually discovered this, just by accident, by looking at suggestions. So that's why I like getting suggestions from you guys, because, there's so many games out there. I've got a huge library of them. I haven't played all of them. I've missed a lot of games over the years, just with how things come out. You don't hear about it, don't know about every game. And so that's why I like hearing about them from you guys, because it gives me ideas of new games to check out. And I really appreciate it. So we'll do our quick little recap here. I talked about playing Grand Theft Auto Liberty City Stories. This is a great companion piece to the original trilogy, as these were originally just PSP ports, but they're really fun, and they ported them to PS2, and it gives you more of the early story, as these games take place before those, so little prequels to it, and just gets you more background about the different characters and stuff that you run into through those main games. And it plays just like those ones, just as good, great music, the mechanics, cars, driving, fighting, all of that is awesome. Like, one thing too that I didn't mention is that Liberty City Stories, they actually added motorcycles, because you remember, bikes weren't added until Vice City, so it's really cool seeing bikes driving through Liberty City. So that's something that's really cool in that. And then, of course, we also talked about Xiaowan Sword 7, such a fantastic action RPG, ancient Chinese mythology setting, has great combat mechanics, it has great crafting, it has great characters, great music, just an overall great immersive experience that I absolutely love and think you guys should check out. But let me know your guys' thoughts on the games I shared with you today. Let me know about the games you guys are playing, and if you have any suggestions on games you think I should check out. I want to thank you guys for watching. Take care. You guys have an amazing day, and Sleepy will see you next time.